Yo, so I'm Trent, and Brian is the other one on the channel. You might have seen me in some of the shorts just fucking around, or you might have seen Brian. It's our first video, and I'm just gonna try to do a story time, give a little intro feedback to the channel. We just hit 100 subs, so that's fucking awesome. We've been in Florida about 6 months, and yeah, that's about it. I turned 19 a couple months ago. He'll be 19 in a couple months, and let me think. This is the first time I did acid. So pretty much, I was 16. It was about a week after my birthday. And my friend, who'd done it a few times, he says, hey, let's do some acid. And me, I was a stoner at the time. I still smoke a lot of weed. I was like, acid? That doesn't sound too bad. What is it? And you know what he told me? And for people that do or have done acid, you know this is false. He told me, it's like taking an edible, just a little bit stronger. So in my mind, I'm like, an edible? I can take an edible. I can handle an edible. So we get some tabs. We get these red gel tabs. Or maybe they were blue. I don't know. They were red or blue. But they were gel tabs. And he gives me one, and he's like, hey, we'll start with one. We'll wait like an hour, 2 hours. If you don't feel it, you can take another one. So I'm like, bet. So it's me, my friend, and then there's another kid there who I didn't know too well. So we each take a tab, right? Wait about an hour, nothing happens. Absolutely nothing. Hour and a half, still nothing. Then around 2 hours, both of them start feeling things. They're like, hey, our vision's starting to get a little wavy, you know. They're getting the stomach feeling. If you know about that, it's like butterflies, but you're just nervous kind of for the trip. And so I'm like, I'm not feeling anything. So they're like, hey, let's give Trent another tab. So I take 2 tabs. So I'm waiting for this to kick in. And we're just sitting in his basement putting on music videos, you know, when you're with the boys and you're just bored and everyone's looking at their phone. We're just waiting for this acid to kick in. And then my friend, he says, hey, why don't we go for a walk? Maybe it'll help, you know. We'll walk around, you'll start seeing some things. I'm like, that's a great idea. Well, we're walking down the street, and the way his street is it goes all the way down right by a train station, or you can go left, and it's kind of just a couple abandoned buildings, really, maybe 4s. There's nothing over there. So we turn down that road, and there's a deer, and that's when it kicked in, because normally if you see a deer, you're like, that's a deer, who cares? It was like, I don't even know. It was like I just watched Bambi as a little kid, and then I saw the deer. It was magical. I freaked out. I started running towards it. My friends were running. We were just laughing. It was a great time. So, if it's so great, why don't I keep doing it, right? Well, the night continues, and we did have some good laughs, you know. For anybody that's tripped, whether it's mushrooms or acid, you know, the universe laugh when all of you guys are just laughing at bullshit. It's pretty fucking funny. But, we go back to the house, and it's my first time, so they're kind of trip-sitting me a little bit. And my friend that I know well, like my good friend, he goes to sleep. So it's just me and this kid that I don't know too well, right? And I didn't dislike him. Now I'm not a big fan of him, but at the time, you know, I was just meeting him, so I didn't really care. And you know what he does? And this, if you ever trip with anybody, and don't do drugs. No one do drugs. But if you ever trip with anybody, the worst thing you could do is put him in a closet. And that's what he did. I was getting a little overwhelmed by all the colors, and he said, you know what? You can go in my closet. And I'm thinking, maybe it's a big closet. Maybe it's a big spacious closet. Maybe I'll have a good time. I can look at my phone, be alone, you know, maybe it'll help. The first thing that's in his closet is a giant mirror. A giant mirror, no lights, and this weird little bed thing. So I'm sitting on there, and he shuts the door, and I don't know better, because I'm tripping for the first time, you know what I mean? I'm just like, felt like a little kid again. I was just hanging out. And so I start freaking out inside. I'm like, what the fuck is this, you know? I'm sitting there, and all these colors are coming, and I'm getting anxious, so I'm starting to think about weird shit, and there's like, I don't know, I was thinking about like monsters or demons or something, starting to have a bad trip. So I come out of the closet, and I wake my friend up because I'm tripping. It's like probably 3 or 4 a.m., and I'm just freaking out. So I try to wake him up, I'm shaking him, and he's like, hey, if you really need to, you can take a Xan or something, or maybe it was a antipsychotic. He said, you could take this, you can go to sleep. And I was like, you know what? Let me try to ride it out a little bit longer. You know, it's my first time. I don't want to pussy out. So I'm laying there, and they ended up both falling asleep. How? Falling asleep on acid? I don't know. That sounds fucking hard to me. But I'm laying there, and all these colors are still going. And I wasn't even peeking anymore. I was probably in hour 6 or 7, maybe 8. And I was just seeing so many colors and, like, waves and just all this stuff, you know. And eventually the sun starts coming up. It's like 6:37. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go upstairs and get a drink, you know. And when I was tripping, I hate Diet Pepsi, but that was my drink of choice at the time. So I go upstairs. I'm like, maybe there's a Diet Pepsi. Maybe there's orange juice or something, right? And I go up there, and this kid, who I don't know, I met him maybe once or twice, his fucking dad at 7 in the morning is standing there in his underwear making breakfast for himself. Normally, no problem. Maybe a little awkward, but I'll say, hey, what's up? Grab a drink, go back downstairs. I was tripping, man. I was still tripping. I just looked at him, and I was like, hey. And I couldn't remember his name. I couldn't even remember, like, why I was there, besides hanging out. I was just looking at him, just kind of dumb. And he's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I just need to use the bathroom. I don't know where it is. And he points me to the bathroom. So now I have to go in the bathroom because, you know, I just lied. I freaked. I folded. So I go into the bathroom, and I never really thought about it. I've heard the rumors, you know, don't look in the mirror. But I wasn't tripping that hard anymore. So I'm like, you know what? A peek or two won't hurt. You know, we can explore the mind. And I look in the mirror, and my eyebrows, right? They start going down my face like this, like wrapping around, and it almost met down here, but you know, you can see all your acne and pimples when you're tripping. So my eyebrows go down, and my eyes got huge, like they got like huge in my vision, and it freaked me the fuck out. I went downstairs, I woke up my friend, I said, listen, I'm just gonna walk home. It's like a mile and a half, you know, it'll take probably 20-30 minutes, I'm going home. So he's like, hey, suit yourself. Now, by this point, it was like probably closer to 8:39. And I was like, hey, I'm coming down my trip. I remember I had a timer, and it was at like hour 10 or 11. It was towards the very end. So I'm like, hey, I don't think I'm tripping anymore. I'm going to walk home. So I start walking home, and it was all good for the most part, except there's a bike path, right? That's probably exactly halfway between our two houses. I get to the bike path, and it's still pretty fucking early, so the only people out are people jogging and, you know, old people. No offense, but old people are walking around, you know? And I cross the street, and there's all this construction going on that I've never seen before. Like, never. Why they were working on the railroad this day, I don't know. But I'm walking, and the guy's like, hey, you need to walk over here. And I was fucking geeked. You know, I stayed up all night. I'm fucking tripping a little bit at the very end. I'm like, dude, I don't even know what's going on. And I stepped over the railroad, and the guy's freaking out. He's like yelling. I'm like, what's going on, man? So I walked over to him, and he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, what? He's like, if you would have stepped on that railroad, you could have gotten electrocuted. Like, something bad could have happened. And I looked at him, and I was like, for real? I was like, I walk across this thing so much. And he's saying all these big words I don't understand. And he's like, the currents. And he's like, we had to set something up. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? So finally, I get through all that. I'm so close to home. What's the one thing that could trip me out, you think? Being very at the end of the trip. Okay, a fucking cop. I see a fucking cop. So I turn down my neighborhood, right? And the way there's apartments and there's houses. So I'm cutting through the apartments, getting to the houses, and there's a cop right there. And there's no reason to talk to me, no reason to stop me at all. And I'm aware of this, even though I'm tripping. So I'm like, hey, I just need to make it to my house. Well, I turn the corner, and he turns the corner. And I'm like, why? Why? And he rolls down the window, and he goes, everything okay? And I was like, yes, sir, you know, just trying to get through it. Yes, officer, yes, sir, whatever you gotta say, you know. Just be nice so you can leave. He's like, everything okay? You doing good? I was like, yeah. So I don't know if I looked fucking just high as fuck or if I was stumbling or what was going on, but I got yelled at by the train dude. I got fucking, I mean, the cop just asked how I was doing, but that's stressful when you're tripping. It's fucking stressful. But that was the first time. I have a couple other tripping stories. I got a lot of party stories. And I'm sure Brian, the other one who's in the channel, will also post some of these. I hope it was somewhat entertaining. I'm not too sure it was my first one. But as far as intro-wise goes, we started the channel a couple months ago, and I appreciate everybody that's subscribed right now. I do. We're going to start posting more videos and get the watch hours up, you know, to see what we can do. Maybe start the pranks soon. But everyone have a good day, and thank you for watching.